On her wedding day, her faithful German shepherd blocked her path, barking desperately like it was a matter of life and death. Moments later, she discovered a heartbreaking truth that left everyone frozen in shock. As she tried to walk down the aisle, the guests immediately fell silent. But just a few steps in, everything changed. Rex stopped suddenly, his body stiffened, his ears perked up, eyes focused straight ahead. Then, without warning, he moved in front of Emily, blocking her path completely. Emily looked down, confused. "Rex," she whispered, trying to gently guide him aside. He didn't budge. Instead, he let out a loud, sharp bark. Then another and another. The cheerful music stopped. The guests froze, whispering to each other in confusion. Everyone's eyes were now on the bride and the dog that refused to let her pass. Emily bent down, trying to calm him, but Rex backed up and barked again, this time even louder, desperate. His gaze flicking between her face and something behind them. The guests exchanged confused glances, their whispers growing louder. "What's wrong with him?" someone murmured. "Is he sick?" another voice wondered. "Is he in pain?" Emily's father, a tall and strong man who had always been a rock in her life, stepped forward. "Come on, Rex, move aside," he said gently, reaching out to pull the dog away. But Rex wasn't listening. He growled, low and deep, a sound that made everyone pause. Emily's heart raced. Rex had never acted like this before. The dog she knew was always calm, loyal, and playful, never aggressive. But this was different. Something was wrong. Something he was trying to tell them all. "Emily," the groom whispered, his voice tight with concern. "What's going on?" "I don't know," Emily replied, her voice trembling. She knelt down to Rex, placing a hand on his furry head. "Rex, what's wrong, boy?" Rex looked up at her with wide, pleading eyes. His tail was tucked between his legs, and his body was tense. For the first time, Emily saw fear in his gaze. He wasn't just acting out. He was warning her. "Rex, please, what is it?" she whispered, feeling a growing unease. The guests were still staring. The tension was palpable. Something had to give. Emily stood there for a moment, heart racing, staring into Rex's eyes. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The guests were still watching, whispering among themselves, but she barely heard them. Her attention was fixed on the dog, who was now barking furiously, his eyes never leaving hers. "Emily, please," her father said again, his voice full of concern. "Let us handle this. We can figure out what's wrong with him." But Emily couldn't just stand there. Something told her she needed to trust Rex. He was trying to tell her something important, something that couldn't wait. Without another word, she stood up, wiping her hands nervously on her dress. "I'll be back," she said to the groom, her voice shaky. "I'm just going to figure this out." Rex turned and started to trot away, his paws clicking on the stone path. Emily followed closely, unsure of what to expect. He led her away from the ceremony, past the garden and toward the side of the house. His pace was quick and purposeful, and Emily had to hurry to keep up, her dress dragging behind her. Rex barked again, louder this time, urging her to go faster. He seemed almost frantic now, pulling her forward, never looking back. Emily's stomach twisted with anxiety. The dog wasn't stopping for anything. When they reached the back of the house, Rex paused, staring at the small, unassuming garage door. He stopped barking and instead pawed at the door, his body tense and alert. Emily's heart raced in her chest as Rex continued to paw at the garage door, his nails scraping against the surface. He barked once more, louder than ever before, as if urging her to hurry. Something was terribly wrong. She stood frozen for a moment, trying to catch her breath, before quickly rushing forward and pulling the door open. The moment the door creaked upward, a sudden wave of panic washed over Emily. The dim light inside the garage revealed a scene she hadn't been prepared for. There, on the cold concrete floor, lay her younger brother Jake, motionless. "Jake!" Emily screamed, rushing toward him. His body was crumpled, his eyes closed, his face pale. She could feel her knees shaking, the world around her beginning to spin. "Jake, wake up!" Rex stood beside her, whining softly, nudging her hand as if trying to say, "It's him. Help him." Emily's hands trembled as she checked Jake's pulse. There was a faint beat, but it was too slow, too weak. Panic flooded her. What had happened? Jake had always been the picture of health, but he was clearly in trouble now. Her mind raced. Was it a heart attack? A sudden collapse? Had he fainted? Without hesitation, she pulled out her phone and dialed 911, her voice cracking as she explained the emergency. Meanwhile, Rex remained by Jake's side, never leaving him, staying as close as possible. "Please, Jake, hang on," Emily whispered, holding his hand tightly, tears welling up in her eyes. Minutes felt like hours as Emily held on to Jake, trying to stay calm while waiting for help to arrive. Rex never left his side, his presence a quiet, comforting reassurance. The ambulance arrived soon after, and paramedics rushed in, quickly assessing Jake's condition. Emily stepped back, trying to make space for them, but her heart was still racing. "His blood sugar levels are dangerously low," one of the paramedics said as they loaded Jake onto a stretcher. "He's lucky you found him when you did. He was close to losing consciousness." Emily let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. It wasn't a heart attack or anything too serious, but it was still a close call. Jake had a history of low blood sugar, but she hadn't realized he was in danger, and neither had anyone else. Until Rex stepped in. The paramedics worked quickly, stabilizing Jake as they prepared to take him to the hospital. Emily turned to Rex, who was sitting calmly by the side, watching intently. Her eyes filled with tears as she knelt down beside him, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Rex, you saved his life," she whispered, stroking his fur. "You're a hero." Rex wagged his tail gently, his eyes soft, as if to say, "I was just doing my job." But to Emily, he was so much more. He wasn't just a dog. He was her guardian angel. A few days later, the wedding that had been interrupted finally took place. But this time, it wasn't just Emily walking down the aisle. Rex walked beside her, his tail wagging proudly. He had earned his place by her side, as much a part of her life as any family member. As she stood at the altar, holding her groom's hands, Emily shared the story with everyone. Her voice cracked with emotion as she recounted how Rex had blocked her path and led her to Jake in time to save his life. "I know it sounds crazy," she said, looking out at the guests, "but I truly believe that Rex is my guardian angel." The guests were silent for a moment, and then a wave of appreciation and awe washed over the crowd. The story of the hero dog who saved the day, without anyone even realizing it, would forever be a part of their lives. As Emily and her groom exchanged vows, Rex sat quietly at her feet, looking up at her with those wise, knowing eyes. "Sometimes," Emily whispered, her voice full of love, "love speaks without words, just a bark that saves a life."